Meanwhile, somewhere in Pittsburgh is myself. So I'm hiding from my family. I'm in the American Airlines Club, trying not to think evil thoughts about American Airlines and I realize this is actually not a real problem because this is called first world problems, which aren't real problems. So our original flight was at 8:30. Great. We've been in Pittsburgh for a wedding, Sewickley for a wedding all weekend. And then they switched our flight to 6:30. American Airlines did. And this evidently was like in February. And they send you an email and say, your flight time has been changed to 6:30. And then you click, I don't know, confirmation or some word with a big blue button. Well, I clicked it because, like, what other choice do you have? Your flight has been changed. What do you be like? What you be like? No, you can't switch it. And so I clicked it. Well, so this past week I was like, I really want to leave at 8:30. So I call and they're like, we can't do anything about that now. So what do you mean you can't do anything about it now? They're like, well, if you had called when it happened. I was like, really? What would have called when it did happen? They're like, well, we could have put you on another flight. I'm like, but you didn't have any other flights. You had one flight in the morning and one flight at night. So fine. I just sat there on the phone. I was foul. This is when I had COVID. And I was like, I can have a great big hissy or I can just move on. So I took the high road and I moved on. So today we get up, we call the Uber. You can refute the change before you accepted it. They can refund you. Yeah, but I still had to come, and then the ticket's going to be more expensive. I mean, that's sneaky. That is sneaky. Sneaky kapiki. Like, here's what I think American Airlines does. I think what they do is they list flights at times that they think people will want to fly. Like 8:30 on a Sunday morning, or Thomas was going to get in from Paris. He was going to get in at like 6 p.m. I think they have no plans at all of ever flying those times. I think they just, they wait a while, and then they're like, now we're going to put up the real time. The real time is 6:30. Well, who in the hell in their right mind? All these fools have come to see Pink in Pittsburgh. They're not want to fly at 6:30 a.m. No, they do not. But they got tricked, bamboozled. So this morning we get up. I reserve an Uber for 4:45. At 4:50, I'm like, where in the hell is Hamad or whoever it was? Ahmed, somewhere. Him asleep. I called him. I was like, he's at his house. And at first I thought he was at a real long stoplight. No stoplight. So I call him. You can call your Uber driver. And he was, hello. I was like, hello. This is your pickup that was 7 minutes ago. It was just crickets. I said, are you awake? He went, I am now. I coming. I was like, no, you're not coming. I've already called another Uber. It's going to take you 15 minutes to get here, and then I'm going to miss my freaking flight. He said, you cancel. So I cancel it. Well, you know what it does then? Uber charges me $35. I mean, this is like the corporate world against the debutante. American Airlines and now Uber. So I get in the car and I'm like, I've just been charged $30 on the new Uber. A very nice woman with a minivan with lights all over the roof who clearly did a lot of smoking. Not that I'm a judger, because I used to smoke. And she's, my family says, I said, well, I canceled it. They were like, well, that was stupid. Guess what my teenage sons say? I said, what do you mean it was stupid? I canceled it because they were like, oh, you should never cancel. And little Thomas is like, oh yeah, I don't cancel. One time I didn't cancel for 45 minutes. The driver never showed up, and he was like, you cancel. And I said, I'm never canceling. So then, hey Tammy, welcome subscriber, supporter. After this video, we're having a supporter coffee chat. This is supposed to be a positive family wedding weekend video, but this is funny. And so evidently it's been disputed, and I've gotten my money back now. So then we get to the airport, and it's the world's longest security line, which that's only happened to me one other time when I was flying home on Mother's Day, and the security line was wrapped around the airport twice. And I went up to somebody in line who looked nice, and there was a person that was going to be in front of me and a person behind me, and I said, I'll give you each $20 to let me cut in the line so I can get home to my children. Clearly I was nuts. I mean, why wouldn't I have been like, this is manna from heaven, no Mother's Day with children. So anyway, we get in here, we find this, there's an alternative security line in Pittsburgh. Do you have Amos with you? No. We were at a family's wedding. It was not a small child wedding at all. My children were the youngest there, other than the nieces of the bride. It was a baby and a flower girl. Super cute. So we get in here, finally, hauling ass, run into the gate, and they're like, oh, you're now leaving 2 hours late because of crew issues. These people need to have, like, my dad in charge. I mean, if you were supposed to go somewhere with my dad and you told them, we're just going to leave 2 hours late, he would go off like a rocket. And, like, this is not anything new. Like, people have flights delayed for 36 hours. Like, clearly this is not a big problem. But the tickets were not cheap. They were expensive. So now the flight's been changed. Oh, then it had got delayed for an hour. Now it's 2 hours. Yeah, that's what I thought, Steak Diane. So now I paid for these tickets, and we're not even going at that time. So at that point, couldn't I have bought different tickets that were cheaper? Now there's no internet. I am in the American Airlines Club because I don't know why. Mainly we join so we don't have to pay for luggage because we really struggle with carry-on bags. We checked 6 bags for a weekend. And we came up here, the woman at the front was like, there's no food in here. I was like, well, I mean, can I still come in? She's like, yeah, but there's just oranges and coffee. So we went to get something to eat. And then I'm like, damn it, I'm going to go up there and sit in those nice chairs. Not worry about my bag getting stolen if I have to go park in the bathroom. Well, then the children are watching the World Cup down in the sports bar. So I tell them to come up here. They come up here. They're like, will you turn on the TV? She was like, there's no TV. That was part of why we were not going to be open this morning. I was like, you said it was because there's no food. American, you struggle. The struggle bus is real for American Airlines. I will say it's not crowded. Well, there's one other woman in here. I don't know what she's leaving though. Just me all by my lonesome. This is the menu access, but there's no cooks in the kitchen. Let's walk around since there's nobody in here. I don't have to worry about offending anyone. Oh, this is the TV right there. It broke. This is evidently, so Pittsburgh is a beautiful city, and it is loaded with bridges. It is the darndest thing. I have no idea why. Last night we left the wedding, we got on the shuttle, and none of us realized that we weren't going where the shuttle was going. So 30 minutes in, my oldest son was like, where are we? We're like, we're in downtown Pittsburgh. We were like, needed to go a mile. So we just rode around. Look at these fancy computers. So this is Pittsburgh. Look, they have an underground. These are flights over here. Whose they are, clearly not ours. This is the bar. Pittsburgh has 3 rivers. Oh, 3 rivers, Karen said. Well, it looks like one river with a ton of bridges. I don't know what these seats are. I guess they're for privacy. I guess, oh, they're private. They're not very comfortable. But anyway, we had a really, really nice weekend. And that was kind of what I was thinking about this morning. I was like, you know, it is really easy to not see your family or not go places. We have a little boy with autism. Our nanny had to keep him at home. That was not particularly easy. The airline tickets were expensive, albeit they're not. Ooh, look at all this stuff. If my grandmother was here, she would have taken this like this and stuffed this pup right in her pocketbook. Look at all this tea. You know, it is not easy to go. It's expensive. You have to have the clothes right, which is a lot. I had COVID before we came here. I mean, I was in my, don't go crazy, Karen's. I was able to fly because I had it like 10 days before. But it's hard. But, you know, we got up here and my in-laws came too. And then my husband and I and our big older 3 children, 3 teenagers. And we had the most delightful time. We had drinks with family. We were with them Friday night. And then Saturday, we had a seated reception dinner at his cousin Suzanne's house. And they live in Sewickley. And, you know, his cousin David. So my husband and his sister are the cousins, the only cousins that these cousins have. And it's true. My husband and his sister have 2 first cousins. I grew up with I have 19 or something. Not that you get to see each other a ton, but I have a few that I get to see pretty regularly. But they were so appreciative that we came, and Karen, stop using my name derogatorily. Okay, Karen. Are there any Susans out there? Or Lindas? How about the fact that there's a Linda conference every year? Because it was the 18th most popular name in 1940. And now last year there were only 2 Lindas born. But anyway, we went and last night I sat and talked to Thomas's cousin's wife. It was just delightful. It was just delightful. And I thought to myself, this is so worth it. We got to see my mother-in-law's sister, who's in her later 80s. And she and my husband danced at the reception. And Thomas danced with his mom, and my oldest and my daughter danced. And look, now here come the Lindas. It was just really nice. And I thought, you know, his cousin Suzanne, who she's, you know, the hostess of this beautiful wedding, and we were getting ready to leave, and I said, we're going to go down. They have a ballroom in their house. We said, we're going to go look at the ballroom. She said, come with me. And she took time from, you know, a couple hundred people at their house to take the children down and show them herself. And it was just really special because that action said, I care about you, and I really appreciate you coming here and making this effort and this trip. It was super nice. Pittsburgh was a beautiful city. I mean, I thought it was awesome. We went down town in Sewickley and went to this place called Twin Rivers. It was like kind of an antique store. I mean, it was in their house. Yes, it's a ballroom in their house. It was delightful. we just couldn't have had a good time. Better time. Um, but anyway, the one cousin, they just made a real effort to hang out with us and do stuff together. Because it was like, wow, any chance Thomas might pop over to Ireland. So Thomas they had a pie table, not a cookie table. They did not have wedding cake. They had pies. And I had peach. Terry loves Pennsylvania. Terry, I don't think I had ever even been to Pennsylvania. If I have, I don't remember it. I certainly had not been to Pittsburgh. And it is super not... Oh, anyway. There was a shirt out there in the gift shop, and it said, I put ketchup on my ketchup. Where were they married? They were married at my cousin's house. They did a Friday night party at the Duquesne Club, which is downtown in Pittsburgh. And then we stayed at this place called the Edgeworth Club, which is like a tennis and swimming pool and like a restaurant. But then they have, I don't know, 6 or 7 rooms you can have guests stay in, which is sort of awesome. Even though we lost our key every 10 minutes and we left without paying. I'm going to have to call and send them a check. There was nobody there this morning. What if we did? I'm so glad I said that. What if I forgot? And the cousin was just stuck with the bill. It's so embarrassing. Those North Carolina cousins, they just showed up again and didn't pay. That's where all my family is, Ohio State, which I think we're going to try to go to a football game this fall. I don't think she's the cook. Venue was gorgeous. Oh, it was pretty. I tell you what, no cookie table. I didn't see a cookie table. Are there usually cookie tables? Amish country. Oh, I've never seen that. That would be nice. Really nice. Meet up in Ohio. They had the wedding at their house and didn't use the ballroom. Why, yes, they did. They had the wedding under a tent, and then they had another tent where we had a seated dinner. And then the after party that started at 11 that we did not go to was in the ballroom. So we missed that because we had to get up here so we could come sit in the airport for our 3-hour delayed flight. Yes, because it's an important thing. Yeah, very important. Now, one thing that was interesting about this wedding, I'm not used to this, but this other mother who has 20-somethings told me. So a really good friend of the bride's officiated the wedding. I mean, I was like, I've just never seen this. Evidently, that's like a thing that people do. Clearly, these are not people that I went to college with. I was like I said to Thomas, who would you have gotten to officiate our wedding? I would worry it wasn't legit. But that was pretty neat. Everybody's very fashionable. Unlike myself. I've not ever been to a wedding without a cake. Well, I think we had a wedding cake. Friday night we had a really good cake. Are you heading to the beach now? No, my Fanny's sitting here at the Pittsburgh airport. I mean, I just for once would love to say to American Airlines, I'm going to be 3 hours late. You're just going to have to hold the plane for me. They're like, if you don't come down here, we're closing the doors and we do not open them. Send Thomas to flight school. Oh, I understand why there's a pilot shortage. I got the explanation from my flight attendant on the way here. So what happened was, during COVID, a lot of people retired. They paid them out to retire. Well, then they decreased the number of hours you had to fly to be a pilot, but then they had kind of this lapse where people couldn't get any hours. So you had about 2 years where they were churning out very few pilots. So right now we're in this riverbed of no pilots, but then we should catch back up. How is little Thomas? He's great. Yes, he's going to be on. We have some fun subscriber videos we're going to be doing, and he's going to be coming on and doing a video about. Have y'all heard about how this this, it's been like a hot news topic, is should you give your seat? Do you need to give your seat to somebody if they ask you and they want to sit with their children? Is that your responsibility to give up your seat, or is it the person's responsibility to buy a seat? Hopefully you're able to take pictures. Oh, Kim, I put up like 50 pictures on the subscriber page. Go check them out. Oh, you're not a subscriber. Oh, you better go look. You better sign up. So it's that's a hot button topic. And I have some real opinions about it. I think my biggest opinion is, I kind of go in multiple ways, but do I think you should have to pay to sit beside your 3-year-old? No, I do not. I think that what they're not talking about is, it's like, well, should people ask you to move, or you should pay for a seat? Well, how about the airlines put you beside whatever the age is? Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 17, I don't know. The airline should automatically put you together, in my mind. And they should say, if you want to buy a seat, you're going to have to buy 2 or upgrade 2 seats. Just like you would have to do for first class. So that's the one thought I have. No one should have to pay to sit with a 3-year-old. I mean, that's asinine. But, so I think the airline should be in charge of that. But Thomas had this interesting thing happen where I had paid extra for a seat for him because I wanted him to sit up front. I mean, I don't want somebody groping him on the plane. And this dad came up to him and said, will you switch seats with me? And I hadn't talked to him about this, so that he could sit with his son, who was also 17. And I was like, you should have said, hell to the nose, no. You need to ask the person in the crappy seat if they'll switch and give them the good seat up here. But I've raised nice children, and he's a gentleman, and he gave up, this is like a 9-hour flight, gave up his very nice seat. Well, I would love to know who that man is so I could kick him in the teeth. I mean, that is offensive. Don't go pigeonholing my child so you can sit with your child who's a teenager. I just talked about it. So I told little Thomas, I said, we're going to do a video on this topic, because I find that very annoying. In fact, I'm going to talk to American Airlines about it today. I might make a whole list of suggestions for them. Starting with, don't send me these sneaky emails telling me my flight is 9 hours off, and then, pretending I have an option. But anyway, yeah, don't ever do that. Don't ask a teenager to change with you. If a teenager is by themselves, leave them alone. Now, I did have a time where Amos was not with us, but we booked the flight late and you couldn't get the seats. And Amos was in a middle seat, and this was a middle seat across the aisle. And I did ask the woman, I said, my son has autism. They were the exact same seats, like basically this seat to this seat. Would you mind switching with me, or I can? And she was like, oh, our departure time just changed. Maybe the pilots got here. She was like, yeah, no. I think she felt like she should say no because she could say no. No, that's not good either. Like if Thomas had said some guy had a 3-year-old, whatever. So it ended up, I said, okay, well, I just asked the next person. And, but what I should have done is just left Amos over there with those people and been like, see y'all tomorrow. But again, I think if you cannot book a ticket for someone without an adult, the airline should put you together. But they don't want to, because then they're going to make less money. So at the end of the day, that's the bottom line for them. Not for you, not for me. This is why I love Delta. No offense, American Airlines, but I really do like Delta. Okay, I'm going to check my flight and find my family. Carry on.